Hello and welcome to episode 2 of The Long Shot. I'm here once again with my good friend Davis. And let me tell you, we are excited to be back for week 2.
We're back, man.
Yeah, there were maybe some concerns that we would get dropped after a week 1 performance, but there seems to be some optimism, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say we watched the game film.
Yeah.
We're going to make minor adjustments.
For sure.
We're trying to win a podcast championship.
Yeah, that's one thing you can expect from this pod is growth. You know, I think, a growth mindset, personal development is something that we're definitely going to prioritize moving forward. Feedback was much appreciated, and we're definitely going to apply it moving forward here.
How do you build a brick wall?
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick. So we're just trying to get better every week.
Yeah, just building small incremental improvements, and then hopefully at the end of this whole thing, we have something to show for it.
That is the goal.
So today we're super excited to have our first guest ever in the history of the show.
Wow.
Somebody that I'm privileged enough to call both a friend first, but also a teammate, Andre Iguodala. Known by many of you, I'm sure, for his performances off the court. But today we want to highlight just some of the successes, both on and off, and just everything that's made him who he is.
Which is a long list.
It really is.
On and off, and maybe more off, which says a lot because there's a lot on the court.
Exactly. We'll get to that, though. Just wanted to let you guys know. First, we have some kind of housekeeping stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
Just, fun stuff around the league, around the world, and, of course, always stuff we have going on in this pod, which we're excited to continue to develop and share with you guys. So definitely an interesting week in the NBA.
Yeah, you can say so.
Safe to say this was a week of firsts, with games being postponed at an alarming rate.
If we keep having weeks like this, we're going to have to do these daily because it's just funny now that we're doing these. My mindset is like interesting topics that we can talk about throughout the week.
Right.
And the list was infinite.
Yeah.
Starting, I would say, last Sunday, right? You guys are in Boston, get word that there's been exposure.
Yeah.
You guys go into kind of immediate lockdown.
Yeah, so we play Washington. We fly to Boston for a back-to-back. We land in Boston, and we wake up, and there's kind of this kind of weird vibe. Usually you wake up, you test, and you just kind of get ready for the game, especially on a back-to-back. Don't have a shoot-around or anything, just kind of a meeting closer to game time, go through the normal routine, and it was very clear that something was kind of different. We had just played Washington. Bradley Beal had been pulled out of the game in warm-ups in Washington because of contact tracing.
Against you guys?
Against us, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, so he was pulled out of – he was set to play, was listed as active, was going to play and everything, and was pulled out of the game literally while he was warming up because I don't know if it was the night before – I think it actually was the night before they had played Boston, and Jason Tatum – had tested positive or was in protocol. I don't know if he tested positive or what, but was in protocol. And as a result, now Bradley Beal was traced. Or they were in the midst of figuring out if he was. Therefore, they wanted to be on the safer side of things and pull him out. So that was interesting. It was just kind of a whirlwind for us. Obviously, the prep for the Wizards looks a lot different with or without Bradley Beal.
Yeah.
So that whole thing changes. And then, of course, we wake up in Boston, and there are additional people from our team that are now potentially put in protocol. The Celtics only had, I think, 8 people available also. So it was looking like it was going to be just a completely depleted game. We had no idea. We still thought we were playing. The bus usually leaves at 4 p.m. It's like 3:55, and we get a text saying, yeah, let's hold off on getting on the bus. We're going to wait and see. And then it just kind of keeps getting pushed, and then eventually it gets postponed. So definitely a weird feeling. I remember sitting in the hotel room at like what should have been game time and thinking like, am I missing something? Like, should I be at the arena right now? Like, putting on my shoes, like getting ready to play. But no, everyone was just kind of in their hotel room and didn't really know what to say or do. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't leave. So we were all just kind of chilling.
And then you're supposed to play the next night or maybe the night after in Philly, but you guys are then just in Boston, not really knowing what comes next.
Yeah, so that the plan for the road trip was obviously to play Boston. We usually travel after games, so get on a plane. No, but I mean like that night.
You don't travel before the game?
Okay. We usually travel the night of games after the game. I appreciate you making me clarify. But we actually stayed the night in Boston just because they wanted to get another round of testing. They kind of wanted to see where the chips would fall with all of that, who was going to be out due to tracing and whatnot. So then in the morning, we found out that we had guys that were traced and were going to be held out due to protocol. And as a result, they all took a plane back to Miami. And the guys who were good to play stayed in Boston and that night took a plane to Philly to take on the Sixers the next day. So it was, even that game, I think a lot of us were kind of anxious, unsure of what was going to happen with that game. And pretty much right up until, once again, we got on the bus, it was like, are we going to play tonight? And obviously we ended up playing with only 8 guys available. So it was definitely an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, and what's the mindset like then? Because you guys go through these weird 2 days, everything's up in the air. You know that there's been some exposure. Then you get word of kind of like a check yes, check no of who can go, who can't. You have 8 guys, which is the bare minimum.
Yep. Yeah. We actually had 9 that were clear, but Myers had sustained an injury in the previous game, so he was being held out.
And then you're on the road, right? So like the rest of the guys, like you said, go back to Miami. So you know, all right, we've got 2 in Philly. This is the 8 we're rolling with, some of whom are guys that haven't really played NBA minutes yet.
Yeah, or at least had a lot of experience. It was, truthfully, it was just a kind of a next man up, mentality. I was excited for those guys and that I've been in their shoes, particularly in my first year, not having had a lot of opportunity. And, truth of the matter is it's really, really hard to play well in any setting when you just have such limited minutes. So I was excited for them to be able to be out there and, we only had 8 guys, so everyone was going to play, to get comfortable, be able to play through some mistakes, develop some confidence. And I think that happened. Guys like Gabe Vincent, Max, Strus, Precious played really well. Chris Silva came in and played really well. So for those guys to have that opportunity, I think is going to end up being really good for us in the long run, as it just establishes our depth further.
Totally. And it's a unique opportunity for you also, right? Because you now all of a sudden become a guy who, you guys need to go through, right? Like for you guys to be competitive in Philly, you were going to need to be aggressive. You were going to need to take a little bit bigger role, right? Am I off here?
No, well, a big thing for us in Miami is always like to play to our strengths. And the interesting thing about it is when the roster and the personnel shifts of who's available, our strengths then shift.
Sure.
So we had established early on that our strength was going to be 3-point shooting and that it was basically going to be bombs away. So I think we took 57 threes in that first game.
That first game in Philly.
Oh, we were just letting it ride.
And they were too.
Yeah.
I think Danny Green took 20 threes.
Yeah, 21.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were just, it was insane.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that was going to be the only way that we could stay in it, is if we just let it rip with a whole lot of confidence. So it was definitely a game plan to just kind of go out there and be aggressive. I mean, it wasn't just mindless jacking. Like it was very deliberate. These are the type of shots we need to get to, because we don't have, the reality is we didn't have a guy like Bam. We didn't have a guy like Jimmy who can, get to the free throw line or get us points in the paint, and that those points were going to need to be made up in other areas. And that was going to be 3-point shooting.
Which I imagine is kind of fun, right? Like that's got to be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for me to hear. Just I've been fortunate enough in this organization to have pretty much a green light anyways, but safe to say that night it was neon green. It was just like all things go, let it fly, let it rip. We really should have won that first game, which was really disappointing, just because I think it would have been just a great, like truly inspiring win to get with just 8 guys and just rising to the occasion. So that was disappointing to drop that one. And then in the second one in Philly, we just didn't do enough to win, and they were kind of able to push the lead there, especially towards the end. So it was tough, and that definitely weren't the results we were looking for, but we certainly learned a lot.
Yeah, and you guys battled. I want to rewind the clock a little bit because one of the funny things about us doing this podcast now is you'll text me randomly like, hey, remind me to tell this story, or remind me to ask, remind yourself to ask me about this next week, which is awesome. This is week 2, so I say that, this has happened once.
Yeah.
But
a couple times.
The text I got was, remind me to tell a Robin Lopez story next episode. So I know we've gone past the Washington game. I think that was a couple nights before you guys were in Boston.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you about the mysterious Robin Lopez story.
Yeah. So I've kind of had the privilege of getting to know Robin a little bit just through my friends have been his teammates. So I haven't really gotten to know him personally, although he seems like a really good guy. But I've heard stories about kind of how he is, and really smart. I think both the brothers are really smart dudes. Obviously went to Stanford.
Yeah.
Have had long, successful NBA careers, the both of them. So we were, I think it was third quarter in Washington. There, Tyler goes to the basket, draws a foul. He kind of, does the head back, kind of leans into the call, definitely maybe manipulates a whistle a little bit. Just good basketball play, smart IQ, but gets the whistle, and Tyler's at the line. Mind you, there's no fans in Washington, like there aren't in many arenas. So it's dead quiet. Some arenas like pumping noise, especially when the away team is shooting. No, dead quiet.
Oh dear.
Robin is sitting on the baseline, crisscross applesauce, mind you, and he's watching. He's not in the game. He's just sitting on the baseline, and he has a very deep, clear voice. And it's after the first free throw, dead silence. He goes, "This league is full of theatrics and thespians. Several of you are worthy of Oscar-level performances for what you've done tonight. You should all be embarrassed. All of you. Embarrassed." And just the fact to throw thespians into NBA trash talk, I guess, was just fantastic.
That is Stanford-level trash talk.
It is. It's like grade A, just top-tier trash talk.
Are you even offended with something like that? It's almost like a compliment.
No, I enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it. I think Jerome Robinson, I was like blocking out for the free throw, and I just kind of laughed, and Jerome laughed with me, and he was like, "Yeah, that's pretty much par for the course. That happens often."
Not only did I get the foul, but I also apparently deserve an Oscar.
Exactly. So I just thought that was a fun one that I thought you guys in particular would enjoy.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no, that was good stuff. Also, obviously, some other news around the league. The James Harden trade with everything going on. Personal for me in that one of my good friends in Karis, somebody that I played with at Michigan, was involved in that trade. And then obviously the recent news with Karis, his health, hoping and praying and keeping him in our thoughts. I would say. Just with everything moving forward, but definitely changes the landscape of really the league, and particularly the Eastern Conference moving forward. To have an MVP worthy player like that now in the East, I think it's just continued to solidify that the East is back. The East has been slandered for the last, I don't know, 5-6 years, and now it's back.
You guys play Brooklyn twice next week, I think.
Yeah,
that's going to be a fun one.
It will be. I mean, they certainly have the firepower now. Interesting dynamic with what's going on with Kyrie. Obviously, I think everyone's trying to kind of wrap their minds around that and figure out what's going on there. But even without Kyrie, with just KD and James, that's a whole lot of offensive weaponry.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle. I envision that game going like one of those three standing at the top of the key, just sort of waving everyone else to the corner and just seeing what they can get matchup wise.
Yeah. The reality is, especially with those two, no matter who's guarding them, it's always going to be pretty much a favorable matchup. It's got to be defensively, it's got to be a team group effort. It's not going to be one guy that shuts down those guys just because of how dynamic they are offensively. So we just wanted to touch on that as well, particularly in regards to Karis, and just continue to send some positive thoughts his way. We have a new segment alert.
Whoa.
Potentially.
Ding, ding, ding.
Potentially.
That's the wrong. What's the sound effect for a new segment alert? Woo, woo, woo.
We can work on that.
We need a soundboard.
We have a long shot feature that we want to do.
Yeah.
And basically we need your help, the viewers, the fans,
Supporters.
Yeah, I don't want to call them fans.
Yeah. Listeners.
I view this as somewhat of a collaborative
or
effort.
Viewers on YouTube.
We have a long shot feature where we want to basically shout out a local to you, doesn't have to be local to us, but like a grassroots long shot. Somebody that has overcome the odds, adversity in maybe a way that is not getting the recognition he or she deserves. It could be a team, it could be a person. It doesn't have to be anything to do with sports.
Oh, correct.
It could be anything.
In fact, maybe better if it's not.
Yeah.
Broaden our horizons a little
truthfully,
bit.
Yes. You can submit yours via social media.
Correct.
We have, I think we have all the platforms now.
Yeah, sure. Twitter, YouTube, Instagram.
All those things that the kids are doing these days, we're on.
Email. Also email.
You can email us as well, which is
thelongshotpod@gmail.com.
@gmail. So we won't have one for this episode because obviously we're just now announcing it, but please get out there and give us your submissions. We'll pick one for a week.
Yeah. We just want to get a read on what's going on out there.
Yeah, we really do. We want to continue to engage and touch base with all you guys.
And support inspiring, cool stories.
Exactly. So that's a new segment alert. Now to bring back a repeating segment, we have the NBA Reddit question of the day.
Yeah.
This is Davis's kind of world.
I'm living in it.
So I'm just going to give him the reins for this one.
Well, I'm honored, first of all. Thank you for the reins. We got, I think, pretty positive feedback on this one last week. We loved it.
We also did a Reddit AMA.
Yeah, we did.
Which was
you did.
Yeah, I did. You supported me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Morally.
Thanks for that. Emotionally as well.
Yes.
But which I think went pretty well. So we definitely want to continue to kind of engage with that community as well. But Davis has the Reddit question of the day.
Yeah, this one I've been just waiting for this one. This one I'm pretty excited about. I don't mean to build it up with too much anticipation, but it's one of my favorites. And I've been itching to ask you this question because I think you'll have some good insight into it. This one comes from 99 Hog Lagoons, which is an incredible username, by the way. Let's just take a moment to appreciate that. Also, you guys play Toronto tomorrow.
Yes. Well, this will have released on Thursday.
Yes. So you played them yesterday also. See what I did there?
Hopefully we secured a win.
Yeah.
And we'll also be playing them tomorrow.
Where you hopefully secure another win.
Yes, exactly.
So it's fitting. I want to get a read from you. Imagine a scenario, and this is obviously hypothetical.
Okay.
But imagine a scenario where Fred VanVleet is allowed to stand on Kyle Lowry's shoulders.
Okay.
And that counts as one player.
Oh, wow.
That's their starting center in Toronto. Is Fred VanVleet on Kyle Lowry's shoulders. So let me just paint the picture for you. That player would be approximately 12 feet tall.
Okay.
They would have 4 arms.
Oh, wow. A lot of deflections.
But wouldn't really be able to move at all. I was going to say laterally, but really at all.
Yeah.
So think of the dynamic. Like, I think they'd only be able to play on one end of the ball.
Yeah.
But my question for you is, does that player make an all-star team?
My initial response would be no.
Dude, 12 feet tall?
I understand that, but particularly, the way the modern NBA is now, we've just moved away from those kind of like lumbering big men. Being a 5 in today's NBA is all about mobility. Granted, I know they bring like height and length to a new level.
Yeah,
but they're actually not actually bringing length to a new level because they still have their same wingspans.
Duncan, 12 feet tall.
I understand that. So offensively, it's a lot. It's like a lob dunk every time.
Yes,
right?
Or defensively, they take away an entire side of the court.
But that's the point. The pace is so fast that they literally would not be able to do both.
Correct.
I also question it from like a functionality standpoint.
I think for the sake of the argument, they're like, whoever's on top can't fall.
Okay. I mean, that helps. That helps your case that they would be an all-star maybe a little bit. But I still, like, you need to be somewhat of a two-way player. Like, you need to at least exist on both ends of the floor. Like, they literally would not be able to exist on both ends.
I understand that. That's a valid argument. But think of them offensively, what they would do. Like, their efficiency offensively might be able to counteract the fact that they're literally non-existent on the defensive end. 12 feet tall, and it's Fred VanVleet on top. It doesn't matter who is. Both of them are skilled guys, but they can 12 feet tall, Duncan.
I'm holding strong on my stance.
I think they've got a shot. I don't think it's a lock, but I'll tell you this, we've certainly never seen anything like it.
I think they're unplayable, particularly in the playoffs. I know that's something that loves to get thrown around. Oh, that guy's unplayable in the playoffs. But I don't think they're playable in the playoffs.
They're selling tickets, I'll tell you that.
They are.
If people could come to the games. In this hypothetical, people are allowed to come to the games.
Okay. Yeah. I still don't think that they are, personally. But I guess that means it was a good question of the day if we agree to disagree.
I'm telling you, 12 feet tall with a guy as skilled as Fred VanVleet at that height, I just don't see any world where he's not scoring every single time you give him the ball. Like, that player's averaging 90 to 100 points a game.
I don't know if I agree with that.
That might be an egregious take. But
also the fact that, like, when you're that tall, like, their, like, weight distribution would be off. Like, they wouldn't be able to, like, balance
again
correctly.
for the sake of the argument,
like, they could be moved off of spots. Like, they can't just sit in the paint offensively. So there has to be some movement there.
If they're standing on the block outside of the paint, they're still 3 feet away from the basket. Like, what are we talking about here?
I think we're getting a little convoluted.
Right, maybe we've been on this too long.
I still hold strong in that I don't think they would be. I think Fred and Kyle, separate of each other, are two really dynamic players.
Imagine combining their powers.
But I'm just gonna leave it there.
All right, fine. Yeah, we've been on this way too long.
Appreciate to Hog Lagoons for the thought-provoking,
unbelievable question.
We will definitely continue to do the Reddit question of the day. That pretty much wraps up our kind of like intro front of show.
One quick thing. I would like to acknowledge our first two Reddit questions of the day have led to Fred VanVleet.
In some way that they have.
Yeah, which is great. But maybe we'll try to stray into it.
Yeah, stop pandering to Raptors fans.
Right.
But yeah, so there you go. Coming up, we got Andre. I really think you guys will enjoy this conversation. It goes a whole bunch of different directions. So thank you for the support as always, and you're listening to the Long Shot Pod.